Frozen in place when your brain hits the brakes. You know that feeling, right? It's like everything around you is moving at lightning speed, but you're stuck in slow motion. Like your brain just slammed on the brakes, bringing everything to a sudden halt, even though you were already running late. The pressure mounts, and yet you can't seem to move. That's the freeze response in action, and it can be especially common if you have ADHD. It's a frustrating paradox. It's like your brain's way of hitting the emergency stop button when it gets overwhelmed. Your mind goes blank and your body follows suit. But why does it happen, and what can you do about it? Let's dive in. We've all been there, feeling the weight of the world on our shoulders. You have a deadline looming, a sink full of dishes, and your phone's blowing up. Suddenly you're frozen. The tasks pile up and you feel paralyzed. You can't decide what to do first. Every option seems daunting, and the indecision only adds to the stress. Everything feels equally important and completely impossible. The to-do list grows longer and your motivation dwindles. Don't worry, you're not alone. Many people experience this, and there are ways to manage it. Together, we can find strategies to overcome this mental roadblock. The freeze response, not just a fight or flight thing. We often hear about the fight or flight response to stress. It's a well-known concept that our bodies prepare to either confront or escape a threat. But there's a third, less talked about reaction: freeze. This response is just as important and can be just as powerful. Think of a deer in headlights. This is a classic example of the freeze response in action. It's our nervous system's way of protecting us when we feel threatened. The body becomes immobile, almost paralyzed as it assesses the situation. Our bodies go on high alert, but instead of fighting or fleeing, we freeze. This can happen so quickly that we might not even realize it. It's like our brains go offline for a bit, trying to figure out the best course of action. This pause can be crucial for survival. This response is ancient and instinctual, designed to keep us safe from danger. Early humans relied on it to avoid predators. But in our modern world, the triggers for the freeze response aren't always life-threatening. Everyday stressors can activate this response. They can be as simple as a stressful work project or a messy house. Understanding the freeze response can help us manage stress better and recognize when our bodies are trying to protect us. ADHD and decisions, a recipe for overwhelm. Now, let's talk about ADHD. One of the hallmarks of ADHD is difficulty with executive functioning. This means things like planning, organizing, and decision-making can be extra challenging. And guess what? Decision-making is often impaired during a freeze response. So when you have ADHD, your brain might be already prone to feeling overwhelmed. Add in a stressful situation, and it's like throwing gasoline on a fire. Suddenly, you're stuck in freeze mode, unable to think clearly or make a choice. Overwhelm, the fast track to freeze mode. For people with ADHD, overwhelm is often the main culprit behind the freeze response. Imagine your brain as a web browser with 20 tabs open. It's slow, it's glitchy, and it's about to crash. That's what overwhelm feels like for many people with ADHD. The constant stimulation, the difficulty prioritizing, and the pressure to keep up can all lead to a feeling of being completely swamped. And when that happens, your brain might just hit the freeze button to try and cope. Also, Section 5, thawing out, practical tips to get unstuck. So, how do you break free from the freeze? The first step is recognizing when it's happening. It's crucial to be aware of your mental and emotional state. Are you feeling stuck, unable to move forward, or make decisions? This awareness is the first step towards change. Are you feeling paralyzed, unable to take action? Once you've identified the freeze, try these strategies. Remember, it's okay to feel overwhelmed, but it's important to take small steps to overcome it. Number 1, break it down. That mountain of a task, break it into tiny, manageable steps. Instead of looking at the entire project, focus on one small part at a time. This makes the task less daunting and more achievable. Instead of clean the whole house, start with load the dishwasher. Once you complete that, move on to the next small task. This way, you build momentum and gradually tackle the larger task. Number 2, set a timer. Give yourself permission to work on something for just 5 or 10 minutes. This technique helps you get started without feeling overwhelmed by the time commitment. You'll be surprised how much you can accomplish when you're not staring down the barrel of an hour-long task. Often, once you start, you'll find it easier to continue working beyond the initial time limit. Number 3, just breathe. Deep breathing calms your nervous system. It helps reduce stress and anxiety, making it easier to focus on the task at hand. Inhale slowly through your nose, hold for a few seconds, and exhale slowly through your mouth. Repeat this a few times until you feel more relaxed and centered. Number 4, visualize it. Sometimes we just need a visual cue to get moving. Visualization can be a powerful tool to help you see the end goal and motivate you to take action. Try using sticky notes, a whiteboard, or a planner to list out your tasks. Seeing your tasks visually can help you prioritize and stay organized. It also gives you a sense of accomplishment as you check off completed tasks. Section 6, CBT, Rewiring Your Brain for Calm. Cognitive behavioral therapy, or CBT, can be incredibly helpful for managing the freeze response, especially if you have ADHD. CBT helps you identify and change negative thought patterns that contribute to overwhelm and anxiety. It's like learning a new language, the language of self-compassion and realistic expectations. With CBT, you can learn to challenge those "I can't do this" thoughts and replace them with more helpful and accurate ones. Section 7, when to seek help. You don't have to go it alone. If the freeze response is interfering with your daily life, don't hesitate to reach out for professional help. A therapist can teach you coping mechanisms, help you understand your triggers, and provide support tailored to your needs. Remember, asking for help is a sign of strength, not weakness. It takes courage to acknowledge when you need support and to seek out the resources that can help you thrive. Section 8, finding your flow, embracing support and strategies. Living with ADHD can be challenging, but it doesn't have to be a life sentence of freeze framing through difficult moments. By understanding your triggers, developing coping mechanisms, and seeking support when you need it, you can learn to navigate overwhelm and find your flow. Remember, progress isn't linear. There will be good days and bad days. Be kind to yourself, celebrate your victories, and don't be afraid to ask for help when you need it. Section 9, you've got this. A final word of encouragement. You are not alone in this journey. Millions of people experience the freeze response, and with the right tools and support, you can learn to manage it effectively. Remember to be patient with yourself, celebrate your progress, and never underestimate your own strength and resilience. You've got this. If you're interested in learning more about ADHD and the freeze response, check out resources from reputable organizations like CHADD, the Children and Adults with Attention Deficit Hyperactivity Disorder, or the ADAA, the Anxiety and Depression Association of America. There is a wealth of information and support available to help you thrive.